Good morning, my dear students, the students of grade 4. Today's lesson is going to be divided into grammar and writing. The grammar will be time order words, which will be in readers and writers notebook page 352. The time order words and phrases, they link between events and ideas together. So when I say the word time order words, it means that I have some words that they order the events of the sentence. They put the events of the sentence in order. Like how teacher, like for example, when I say first, the word first in here, we flew to Santiago. Next, we flew to Ponto Arena. In here, I say first, we flew to Santiago. In the second sentence, I say next, we flew to Ponto Arenas. You can figure out now, and you can notice that the words that they are underlined, the word first and the word next, they put the events of the story in order. How do you put the events of the story in order? It means they show us here that this event has happened first, and this one has happened second, or it full with the first action in the sentence. So how do I know that we flew to Santiago? This was the beginning of the story, of our story, because of the word first. How do I know that we flew to Ponto Arenas? This is the second action from the word next. So word is like first, word is like before, word is like meanwhile, long, later on, soon, earlier, next, and as soon as. Those words, guys, are showing us the time events or the time order of the sentence. In the second one, when I say I began to set up camp, and meanwhile it means at this time, and meanwhile the ice around me began to crack. So the word meanwhile here, it showed me that this happened first, and what happened at this time, or during this time, what happened? The ice around me began to crack. If you look down here in the directions, underline the time order word or words in each sentence. Number 1, after we received my clothing, we boarded our ship. In the first sentence, which word here showed me a time event or a time order events? This word here, after, showed me that after we received my clothing, it means that we did this one first, and after this one, we boarded our ship. So we received the clothing first, or my clothing first, and then we boarded our ship. This happened next. So the word after here ordered the events of the sentence, showed us that this one happened first and this one happened next. Then the second one, number 2, first I explored my tiny cabin, later I explored the ship's deck. In here I say first, and in the second sentence I say later. In first it means that this one happened first, and in later it means that this one happened after that. So the word first and the word later, they showed me the time order of the events. Number 3, the whales have to pass before we turn the engines on again. So when I say the whales have to pass, and then before we turn the engines on again. So I have here 2 actions. Before I do this one, I have to do this one first. So before we turn the engines, we have to let the whales pass first. The word before here showed you the events of the story, or showed you the order of events in the story. They showed you that in the first step in this sentence is that you have to turn the engines on, and the second one is the whales have to pass. But before you do this, before you turn the engines on, before you turn it on, you have to let the whales pass again. So let's order the events of this story again, or of this sentence again. Sentence number 3. The first action is that you have to let the whales pass, and the second one is that we turn the engines on again. Number 4. Monday afternoon, I watched the penguins. Earlier, the sea was full of whales. Monday afternoon, I watched the penguins. Earlier, the sea was full of whales. And here, I have got the word earlier. Earlier, it means something that happened before this action. So the word earlier here showed us the time order of the story. Number 5, I listened to the loud cracking sounds, and meanwhile, it means at this time or during this time, the sky began to glow. The word meanwhile here as well showed us the events of the story, or the order of the events of the story. So guys, let's recap all the lesson again. Let's recap the lesson again. It means like let's just summarize it again. Our lesson was time ordered words. Time ordered words, it means some words that we use in the sentence in order to order the events of the story, or in order to put the events of the story in order. How, teacher, we put them in order? It means I have to show the reader that this happened first, and this happened next, and this one happened at the end, or last. Okay, guys? So we have got first, we've got next, meanwhile, before long, later on, soon, earlier, next, and as soon as. All these words are time ordered words. Time ordered words, it means really they relate the events of the story, or they link the events of the story. Okay, guys, this is what we call the time ordered words. And then from number 1 to number 5 in here, you have to underline the time ordered words. Down here, in the direction he showed you, choose a time ordered word in which in the brackets which correctly completes each sentence. Like how, teacher, we are going to read the sentence, number 6 for example, and we have to choose between next and first in order to complete here. But teacher, next and first, both of them are time ordered words. How do I know that this one is correct in here? According to the sentence. According to the sentence, you will know. I like I slept on 2 pairs of socks, and next I put on the heavy boots. So it's according to the sentence, or the actions of the sentence, you will know that which one will be fit here. Is it next, or it will be first? Number 7. When I left, snow was beginning to fall, and later it turned into a blizzard. So we have the word later in here, and it completes the sentence, and it shows us the events of the sentence. Number 8. I knew that before long someone would come looking for me. So I knew that before long someone would come looking for me. This was the last one in today's lesson, guys. And I want you to know that we have only the time ordered words today in the grammar, which we use to link between the events of the sentence. So we use the time word events, or the time ordered words, in order to link between the sentences, in order to link between the events of the sentences, in order to link between the events of the sentences. Why, teacher, we link between the events of the sentences? Because we need to show the reader that this action happened first, and this action happened after that, and this one happened in the end of the story, or at the end of the story. Okay, guys, this is the first part of today's lesson about the grammar, the time ordered words. We've got another one here. We have got the writing, which is narrative nonfiction. The word narrative, it means a story. You have to tell a story or write about something. Nonfiction, it means real. So narrative nonfiction, it means that you're gonna write here a story, a real story, and you have to tell the events in order. Like how, teacher? Like, for example, I'm gonna write about the first teacher in space in here. The first teacher in space. So if you want to write about the first teacher in space, you have to tell the events of this story in order, and take care, you have to put all the events here in reality. Why? Because I said this is non-fiction story, it means a real story. Number 2, you have to include all the important information. If you are gonna start writing in here, so you have to include all the important events or information. You have to put supporting sentences with facts, details, and explanation. It means, like, for example, in here, I write here, aboard the space shuttle Endeavour in 2007. So in 2007 here, I put this year in order to support my topic, or in order to show the reader that this is a non-fiction topic. It means a real one. And do not forget, guys, to capitalize the historical events. So if you're writing here, for example, about the first teacher in space, do not forget, guys, to highlight or to capitalize the historical events. So I write here International Space Station, so I have to capitalize this one. And here educator, astronaut, project, as well, I have to capitalize this one. So to sum this all up, our lesson in writing today is narrative nonfiction. Narrative, it means you have to tell a story. Nonfiction, it means it's real. In the narrative nonfiction, you're gonna write a story like this. You're gonna write the topic or the title of the topic in the middle, and then you have to write at least 3 paragraphs. All of them have supporting ideas or have details and supporting ideas, and they must be real. They must be real. This is our lesson today, guys. I hope you understand. I'm waiting for any comment or any question. Just check the writing part and the grammar part today. If you find any question or if you find anything here that is difficult, just send me directly. Thank you, guys. See you in another lesson. Bye.